Tyrannosaurus rex, the truth behind the king of the dinosaurs. Million years ago, something walked through these forests that could crush a car with a single bite. It weighed as much as an elephant, but could move faster than you'd think possible. And for over a century, we got almost everything about it wrong. This is Tyrannosaurus rex, the tyrant lizard king. But the creature we're about to show you isn't the one you grew up with. Who was T-Rex? Tyrannosaurus rex lived right at the very end of the Age of Dinosaurs, about 66 to 68 million years ago, during the Late Cretaceous period. It roamed what is now Western North America, in a world of humid floodplains, river deltas, and conifer forests. An adult T-Rex could grow over 12 meters, about 40 feet, long, and stand around 4 meters tall at the hips. Some estimates put its weight at more than 8,000 kilograms. That's heavier than a school bus. But here's the first thing most people get wrong. T-Rex wasn't just big. It was built differently than almost anything that came before it. And in the last few years, new research has completely rewritten what we thought we knew about its bite, its skin, its arms, and even how long it actually lived. The strongest bite that ever existed. Let's start with the part everyone already knows is terrifying: the bite. Scientists have calculated that T-Rex could bite down with a force between 35,000 and 57,000 newtons at a single tooth. To put that in perspective, a human bite registers at less than 1,000 newtons. T-Rex's bite has been compared to having an elephant sit on you, so all the force concentrated into a single point. That kind of force isn't just for killing, it's for destroying. T-Rex could crunch straight through bone, something almost no other predator, living or extinct, has ever been able to do. Researchers have even found fossilized dinosaur bones, with bite marks where T-Rex literally bit through solid bone and left tooth-shaped craters behind. But how was a skull strong enough to survive that kind of force? For years, scientists assumed dinosaur skulls, like those of lizards and birds today, had flexible joints that let the upper jaw flex and absorb shock. New biomechanical modeling changed that picture entirely. Researchers tested multiple skull configurations, flexible like a gecko, hinged like a parrot, and found that none of them could survive a bite anywhere near 35,000 newtons. The only skull shape that worked was a rigid, stiff, immovable one. T-Rex's head wasn't built to flex. It was built like a sledgehammer, solid from front to back, designed to take the recoil of its own bite without falling apart. Now here's where things get strange. If you grew up with Jurassic Park, you picture T-Rex with rows of huge, jagged teeth on full display, even with its mouth shut. Like a crocodile. A major study changed that image for good. Researchers compared the tooth enamel and jaw structure of T-Rex and its relatives to modern reptiles, and found strong evidence that these dinosaurs had lips. Thin, scaly lips that completely covered their teeth when their mouths were closed. More like a modern Komodo dragon or lizard than a crocodile. Why does this matter? Enamel, the hard outer layer of teeth, dries out and cracks if it's constantly exposed to air. Crocodile teeth can handle that because they live in water. But T-Rex's enamel shows wear patterns consistent with teeth that were kept moist and protected, covered by lips most of the time. So picture this. When T-Rex's mouth was closed, it may have looked less like a snarling monster and more like an enormous lizard with a calm, almost unsettling closed-mouth expression. Only when it opened that jaw did the true weapon reveal itself. The arms, and why they were so small. For decades, T-Rex's tiny arms have been a running joke. How could something so powerful have arms barely longer than a human's, arms that couldn't even reach its own mouth? Recent research finally offers a real answer, and it's not what most people expect. It's not that the arms were useless leftovers. It's that they may have been actively shrinking because of what was happening at the other end of the body. Scientists studying T-Rex and other giant theropods found a pattern. Dinosaurs with extremely powerful, rigid skulls the kind built for that bone-crushing bite we just talked about, consistently evolved smaller and smaller forearms over generations, as the head became the primary weapon, doing all the killing, gripping, and tearing. The arms became less and less necessary for hunting. In other words, T-Rex's arms didn't get small despite its terrifying head. They got small because of it. Evolution was reallocating resources. Why grow large, energy-expensive arms when your skull alone can end a fight in one bite? It's a strange kind of trade-off, Jan, but it shows up again and again across multiple unrelated giant predatory dinosaurs. The bigger and stronger the bite became across millions of years, the smaller the arms got. Growing up Tyrannosaurus, a 30-year life. Here's something that surprised even paleontologists. New histological research, that means studying growth rings inside fossilized leg bones, almost like tree rings, has revealed that T-Rex grew up very differently than we thought. For years, scientists believed T-Rex hit its massive adult size relatively quickly, packing on thousands of kilograms in a short, explosive growth spurt during its teenage years. But a detailed study of 17 different T-Rex specimens, using polarized light to reveal growth rings invisible to the naked eye, found something different. T-Rex had a much longer, more drawn-out adolescence than previously believed. It took longer to reach full size, with some individuals living closer to 30 years. And during that long adolescence, young T-Rex looked, and probably hunted, very differently from its parents. Juveniles were lighter, faster, with longer legs relative to their body, built more for speed and chasing down smaller prey. As they aged, they slowly transformed into the bulkier, bone-crushing adults we recognize. This research has also reignited one of paleontology's biggest debates. Is everything we call T-Rex actually the same species? Some scientists have argued that smaller, slimmer specimens, sometimes called Nanotyrannus, might represent a completely separate, smaller Tyrannosaur species that lived alongside T-Rex, not just juveniles of it. Other researchers have pushed back, arguing these are simply young T-Rex at different growth stages. The debate is still ongoing, and it's a perfect reminder that even with one of the most studied dinosaurs on Earth, we're still discovering things we got wrong. Senses of a killer. T-Rex wasn't just powerful, it was perceptive. CT scans of T-Rex skulls have revealed an enormous, highly developed sense of smell. Its olfactory bulbs, the brain regions responsible for processing scent, were huge compared to most other dinosaurs, rivaling those of modern vultures and other scavengers known for detecting carrion. From miles away, its inner ear structure suggests excellent low-frequency hearing, the kind of hearing that would let it detect the deep rumbles and footsteps of other large dinosaurs from a distance, and branching patterns in the bones around its snout show an extremely sensitive network of nerves, possibly sensitive enough to detect tiny vibrations, or even gently sense the texture of objects. Similar to how crocodiles use their jaws today, put it all together, and you get a predator that wasn't just relying on brute force. It was constantly scanning its environment, smelling for rotting carcasses from kilometers away, listening for the telltale footsteps of prey, and feeling the world around it with a level of precision that doesn't match the mindless killing machine of old movies. T-Rex, in other words, was smart, strategic, and almost certainly more curious about its environment than it was ever given credit for. The world T-Rex left behind. T-Rex was, in many ways, the final word of the Age of Dinosaurs. It lived right up until the very end of the Cretaceous period, sharing its world with Triceratops, Edmontosaurus, and dozens of other species we're still discovering new details about, even today. In just the last year or two, scientists have described dozens of new dinosaur species from this same general time period, some with features never seen before, like skin structures unlike anything in the fossil record. The world T-Rex lived in was far richer, stranger, and more diverse than the simplified picture from old documentaries. And then, around 66 million years ago, it all ended. An asteroid impact, environmental collapse, and a chain reaction of extinction wiped out T-Rex along with the vast majority of dinosaur species on Earth. But here's the thing. T-Rex didn't disappear because it was weak or poorly adapted. By every measure we have, it was at the absolute peak of its evolutionary design. The strongest bite ever recorded in a land animal, an advanced sensory system, and decades of life to grow into an apex predator with virtually no equal. It wasn't outcompeted. It wasn't replaced. Its world simply ended around it, all at once. So the next time you picture Tyrannosaurus Rex, picture this. Not a snarling, tooth-bearing monster, but a calm, lizard-like face hiding the most powerful bite ever measured on land. Not a creature with useless arms, but one that traded them away for a head that could do it all. Not a fast-growing brute, but an animal that spent decades growing into its role as the apex predator of its world. We've been studying T-Rex for over a century, and we're still discovering things that completely change the picture. That's what makes paleontology so exciting. The king of the dinosaurs still has secrets left to tell. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit subscribe, because we're covering the newest dinosaur discoveries as they happen, and trust me, 2026 is already shaping up to be one of the wildest years in paleontology yet. Thanks for watching.